And we're live for the Game On interviews. Hi, I'm Jean Berry, and today I am interviewing the most fabulous Janifer Wheeler. And before I bring her on screen, I want to ask you, have you ever felt stuck or trapped or feeling like you had all this unrealized potential, but gosh, nothing was really happening? And you really, really wanted to shift things but didn't know how? Janifer wants you to know that you actually have the power to rise above those circumstances. And there's a fabulous key, and it's your intuition. Your intuition actually has all of the answers. And Janifer is a certified life coach, a national adult learning presenter, and provides business and educational development tools that inspire women to unlock their potential. Janifer runs a company called Wheelhouse Lifestyle Solutions, and her signature product, Conversolutions. In her journey to consulting and business development, of course, as with many creatives, it's been a long and winding road for Janifer, from commercial real estate to the classroom, and every job, relationship, and opportunity has really informed her ability to help those natural strengths and talents. I met Janifer a couple years ago at a networking event, actually, and we immediately hit it off. I'm really excited to talk to her about some of the really cool things and innovative things that she does to really open up intuition and get in action to make things go. So I'm excited to introduce you all to and welcome Janifer Wheeler. Janifer, thank you for being with us today.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. This is a very exciting opportunity.
So glad you're here. And so I want to make sure to, whoops, I'm not dropping little logos in front of my face. There we go. I want to make sure that the learners kind of get to know a little bit about you. In addition to some of those things, tell us a little bit about what you've been creating and doing over the last couple of years, especially in terms of this exciting of getting inside of your head and clearing out the closet there.
Well, thanks for asking that, Jean. I have been a teacher for most of my life, I would say. And although I tried to buck those natural tendencies, I realized a couple years ago that that's just really who I am at the core. And so it spurred me to think about how can I teach other people, not just kids, but adult women, how they can change their lives for the better through some really simple tools like journaling and painting and creativity and clearing out that mental clutter on a regular basis. So I met some children who were really struggling and some women who were really struggling. So just, interacting with people who were kind of feeling confused and wondering what more could there be, because I had that same experience. When my son was getting ready to graduate from high school, I was kind of like, okay, what do I do now? The mom hat won't be so big. And it got me thinking, and I began a new business. And as a result, I worked with a business development coach. And part of that experience was a daily practice of journaling, being very specific. And then when I worked with another coach, I added the painting and the creativity aspect. And it's just become something that helped me truly tap into my own intuition and understand that I really am my own best friend, because I know myself better than anybody else. So the answers that I need are really just within my own soul. I just needed a way to tap into those and then ultimately get that out. And so I've really been developing a lot of tools and workshops, retreats, and so on to help other people use those tools to help tap into their own brilliance.
Beautiful. Beautiful. So what do you think it is that has people get stuck in their head, like have all that clutter in there that won't let out?
Well, I think we're inundated with a lot of negative, there's just a lot of negativity in the world, as there has always been. And I think we get trapped in our societal expectations. I know for myself, as a female, I was always told I would go to college and then get married and then have a kid and then, you do whatever you're going to do after that. And even as much as I love being someone's wife and a mom, I knew there was more. And I think sometimes we get stuck there. We feel like there's more. We could be more. We want more, but we don't exactly know what to do about it because we are conditioned to feel guilty if we want what we want. We're conditioned to feel guilty if we pursue what we want. If you share your ideas with people, and it's men and women who will say, "Oh, do you really think you should do that? I don't know if you can make any money on that. Do you really think someone will be interested?" And so it makes us afraid, and we say, "Oh, well, that's probably not a good idea." And we put all those dreams and goals to the side. And sometimes I think we just get stuck. I'll just speak from my own experience. I feel like we get stuck in other people's expectations that we own them, but really they came from other people. And it's hard to shake that because there's such an aspect of, who you should be versus who you could be.
Well, indeed. No, and I think that that's really true. When you say getting stuck in society, what society thinks that we should do and that kind of thing is really a hard thing to overcome. I think especially for women in business and, looking to fulfill our destiny, right, onto the planet. What are so what do you think are, I know you teach a lot of workshops on this kind of thing, of kind of this entry point, how do you first get clear, get rid of some of that stuff so then you can actually even find your passion or that kind of thing. Is there some simple way that is a starting point for starting to clear out some of that?
Well, actually, yes. So our brains are wired with a reticular activating system. Basically, our brains filter. And so what I found so interesting about that system is that whatever your thought processes are, so, I can be successful, I can start my own business, or I will never be successful, or there's no way I can start a business. Your brain is looking for evidence to back those things up. So it's like the law of attraction, self-fulfilling prophecy, because your brain is actually looking for the data and all the experiences and stimuli that would validate that thought process. And so once you start really just a flip of the mindset, I can, or, maybe your limiting belief, your mental clutter is, I don't know how to do this, and I can't learn it, and I'm too old, or I'm too female, or I'm too not educated, I don't have that training. Whatever those things are, those fears, those things that pop into your head that make you take a step back instead of a step forward, simply changing the wording. I'm not too old. I do have talent. I can learn something new. That just is a very simple mind shift. And then as you start to really implement that and think it daily, your brain starts looking for all the backup. And then you begin to see, oh, I can. It's like validation. So your brain seeks out these experiences. I'll just use an example. I was working with a coach, and I was saying to myself, I want to do this job, and I'm looking for specific characteristics. And even though it took a while, that job was presented to me. It took several months, but the universe heard me. My brain is looking for all that data. And so it was very motivating and confidence building when you start to see these things change. So really a very simple way to do it is just reframe the phrase. So instead of I can't, it's really simply I can.
So you mentioned something. I love that. And I think that you said two things there that I kind of want to dig into a little bit. One is the brain science, because a lot of times when we do some of these things, it looks kind of like it's a big old woo-woo fest or something exactly along those lines. And yet you mentioned something about, the brain science. And I know that you have spent a lot of time looking into all the brain science behind the products and processes that you've created. What is some of the brain science about, and then I'm going to lead into the second thing that I was intrigued about repetition, about, the idea of a daily practice is what you said. So how is a daily practice important to that habit building, and how do you incorporate that then?
Well, I'll cover both. So as far as the brain science is concerned, your brain is fascinating. I mean, it really is the greatest piece of technology. Like, I know we have computers, we have all these things in the world, but really and truly, our brains are our greatest asset and our greatest technology. And unfortunately, we probably don't use them enough or as best as we can. And so, excuse me, learning more about how the brain responds to things like meditation, managing your energy, like every single thing in the universe is made up of energy. Even an inanimate object has energy. So when you think about the brain science and yourself, your personal self has an energy about it. It's not just a woo-woo or a pie in the sky kind of idea. We possess energy, and so our interactions create more energy or they drain our energy. And so I think that has a lot to do with how our brains process things, how we process things. And a cool thing about the RAS system, the reticular activating system, it's actually located in your brain stem, and it filters out all your experiences and sends them to the appropriate places. So I don't know. I think of the brain is very fascinating, and I'm currently participating in a course to learn more about how the brain interacts with different aspects of us, like in our development, in our spirituality, in that whole universal concept of where we fit into that. So it's pretty interesting. And I would encourage anybody to do research. There's tons of it out there about the benefits of journaling, the benefits of meditation. So a lot of things that people might consider, out there, really aren't. And I found that to be very cool and very validating. In terms of repetition, as a teacher, one of the best ways to get people to learn things is through repetition. So when you do something daily and consistently, it becomes part of you. So, when you're trying to teach a child how to read, you don't say, okay, we'll read on Friday and then we won't read again until like 3 weeks from Friday. That's not valuable. No one's going to learn how to read if you only do it once a month. So the same holds true for other types of habits that you want to incorporate, or other kinds of strategies or things, same exercise, eating well, anything that's going to cause a grand shift in your life. You have to do it with intentionality and on a regular basis. So I journal and reflect and play your card game pretty much every day, minimum 5 days. It may not be 5 days in a row, but I really try for 5 out of 7. That's my goal every week.
Beautiful, beautiful. And have you seen, I know that one of the things that you also value is creativity, mm-hmm. which is in adding that to your process with intentionality. What kind of things do you like to do for opening up that more creative juices in your practices and in your courses and what you do?
Well, I am a huge fan of watercoloring. It's really easy. There's no rules, and therefore no stress. Because I've gone to those drink wine while you paint, and honestly, they stress me out because my brain and my personality wants me to do it exactly like is there. Like with my own flavor and my own flair, but I really want it to look like this example. And so the way I paint in my journal and the way I teach others is to just tap into your own freedom. Like, let your brain rest. There's no thinking necessary when you're just free painting, other than, what brush do I want? What color do I want? Like, those are really the two major decisions that you make. And it's really freeing. Your mind has a moment to relax. And when you can relax your mind, either through painting or meditation or other types of ways to settle yourself, then new thoughts have an opportunity to enter because they're not jumbled up with all the things you're already thinking about. Just sort of, for me, it just creates new pathways for new ideas. I also really love colored pens, markers, washi tape, stencils. So things that kind of have some structure, but yet allow for a lot of freedom and creativity. So those are really my favorite tools to use when I'm working in my journal. And I don't paint in my journal every day, but I will sit down probably once or twice a week and watercolor several pages, and then they dry, and then I write on them with my fun pens and my, fancy glittery tape.
So in your journaling, do you ever go back and review what you've written in the past, or is it the process of writing and processing that you find value in, or is there a reflective piece that you might go back to something at some point?
Both, actually. So mostly I would say it is a tool for moving me forward and processing whatever is really not necessarily even pressing, but just whatever I want to process or need to process for anticipation of that day. But I do go back and look at them, especially if I want to track and see if I make a lot of notes, I do make a lot of business notes in there, especially since I use your angels, peacocks, and butterflies game. And I'll go back and see, did I get that done? Or, wow, that word has popped up. That word seems familiar. And I'll go back and flip pages and say, oh, that's because it popped up 2 weeks ago. It popped up last week. I do use the tally sheets in your booklet, but again, I write those statements in my journal as well. Because sometimes I develop them further, and whatever that action is at the end of the sentence will also often lead to specific actions that I want to take for that day. And if I have kind of a niggle, like you've forgotten something, oftentimes I'll flip back through my journal and I'll find where I wrote down I wanted to do that particular task, and then somehow it slipped off my radar, or I didn't put it in my, my tracking tool that I use on my phone.
Sure. That's very cool. So we actually started working together a couple months ago on a game for you.
Yeah.
And I know, I'm kind of excited. So first of all, I'm really excited about that, but I'm kind of curious, what had you decide then, you've created some tools and that kind of thing, but what had you decide that a game was really a great match for what you were putting out in the world?
Well, initially I was thinking I would write a book because, everybody writes books, right? And everywhere you go, they say, oh, you should write a book. Books give you, a level of expertise. Books, blah, 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 for your business. And so I really did have an idea for a book. In fact, I did a writing retreat last year for myself. I just booked a cabin in Wimberley and stayed out there for a couple nights and worked on writing my book. But through the course, I think once I got your game and began playing it, there was a lot of just kind of fun creativity, like tapping into my intuition, really seeing alignment through a lot of the cards I would draw. And I'm not a person who follows the crowd. So yay for books for other people, but I wanted something different. I wanted something that would make me stand out and be cool. Just, oh, wow, she has a game? That's awesome. And I think games are so much, I love to read, don't get me wrong. I've been reading from a very young age, but games are fun. And you can involve other people. I love the concept that games can be one-on-one for you and yourself, or games can be played with multiple people. And that's really not the case with books, and I don't always remember what I read in a book. So a game helps me remember things better, I guess, because it covers so many learning styles. I go back to that teaching mode where games, you can touch them, you can read them, you can see the visuals of them. So there's just a lot of ways it engages you on many levels. So I also thought that would be a really great thing to incorporate because I'm really about engagement and interaction. And I'm not a fan of sit and get types of things where people just give you a handout and you write stuff down and you leave. I want people to feel like they really experienced something. And for me, a book, it was not wasn't going to offer that in the way that I wanted it to. In the game, there's just so much freedom and fun. And I think as adults, we don't play enough games. We don't engage in things that are truly fun for ourselves.
Beautiful, beautiful. That is fabulous. And of course, I agree with you on all that.
Well, you were very inspirational too. I have to add
that. Excellent, excellent. That is fabulous. So there are a few things. So of course, we are working on a game for Janifer. It should be coming out in pilot program sometime this fall. And so, of course, we will be keeping you updated about that. But there's also some really cool things that Janifer is doing. And if you're in Austin, there are some in-person things that she's got going on that are a good match. So you want to share some of those things that you're doing out on the planet?
Absolutely. So on September 12th at 1:30, I will be presenting Conversolutions, Spruce Up Your Soul, Cleaning Out Your Mental Closet at Vessel Co-working as part of FreeCon. And FreeCon is a freelancers convention or conference in which freelancers all across Austin present at a variety of co-working spaces. And all of the sessions are, specifically chosen to support people who are working in a small business, entrepreneurial, freelancer sort of space. So I'm really excited about sharing that workshop or seminar, if you will. I've presented that one 4 times previously. The month of June was very busy for me around speaking engagements. And I promise if you come to it, you will not be sitting there with one little handout and a whole bunch of PowerPoint slides. It's not that kind of cleaning out. You have a little action. So I'll be presenting on that. And then September 26th, I will be hosting 2 workshops, one at 2:30 and one at 6:30 at T-Works Co-working in Cedar Park. And those workshops will be, so one of the things I'm developing is a mind, body, and soul mini spa. So it's kind of like a spa for your spirit and your mind and body, but not spa like I'm going to give you a massage or like, wax your eyebrows. That's not going to be there. But I know people who do that. So if you need those services, I can direct you that way. But basically it will be some journaling, some creativity, some empowering, quite a few things. And the tickets for those are available through Eventbrite. And it is a Conversolutions seminar, branded event. And then on September 29th, I will be participating in Bold and Bright Fest, which will be lots of coaches playing games with lots of people and having a lot of fun and interacting in that way. So I think I'm presenting twice on September 29th at Bold and Bright Fest.
Beautiful.
And I know there's information about Bold and Bright Fest either on the web or via Facebook.
Beautiful. And we can certainly share all those links here below this video as well so people can find you in Austin. And of course, beyond that, we will be letting people know how to find you in your new game and some online things that we'll be developing around that. And so, yay, that will be very exciting.
Yes, I'm percolating now virtual spa retreats.
Beautiful.
So how do we make that happen for people who can't get to Austin?
Your website is janiferwheeler.com. That's Janifer, Wheeler, WHEELER.com. I will put that in the below this as well, so you can find her and find all of the amazingly cool things that she does on the planet. And I thank you for hanging out with me today. And so before we go, I would love if there is one thing that if someone were going to do something like today to help clear out their mental closet and that kind of thing, what's that thing that you would have them do today?
The one thing I would have someone do to clean out their mental closet is consider the area of your life that feels most cluttered. And I'm not talking about your house or the pile of laundry, just in in areas like work or home. For a lot of us women, I believe it's our families or maybe our work environment. So the area where you feel like you are really not clicking along. Something is just preventing you from moving forward. It could be a toxic coworker. It could be difficulty with your child. It could be transition. For me, it was my son going away to college. So just specifically one thing where you feel the most stuck. It'll take you a minute. Like, think about it. It may come quickly, or it may take a moment. But just what is that one thing? I can't get along with my coworker. Just flip it. I can get along with my coworker. I will get along with my coworker. And when you change that aspect, because you can't change other people, you can only change yourself, then the way you approach that person will be different. The way you approach your own, the things that you say will be different. So really just pick one thing that's making you crazy and flip it to the positive, and you will be amazed at the difference that will make.
Beautiful. Thank you so much for that. And I, again, thank you for hanging out with me today for our Game On interviews. And for those of you watching, if you are more interested in games, I will have the link of how to find more games on my website, the Angel Peacock Butterfly game. You can start playing that tomorrow. Well, after shipping. I will ship it to you tomorrow. And you can play that game. I also help coaches, authors, speakers hire me to create branded games for their business and for more fun and more profit. So if you're interested in that, I would love to chat with you about that as well. I hope you have a beautiful and fun and fabulous day, and I look forward to seeing you all again soon.
Thank you so much, Jean. It was truly my pleasure.